education and training systems ignore the age-old belief that knowledge can never only be given, it must also be taken.
So in the Ramayana, what people don't realize, the first part of the Ramayana is the education of Ram. It's called the Balkand, the child, when he's a child. And we're told that after, when he grows up, he's sent to the ashram of a rishi called Vashisht, where he's trained in the various royal arts, the martial arts. He learns a lot of things. And then after his education, he comes back to the palace as a prince, fully ready, having read everything that Vasishta had to teach him. And then suddenly one day, there is another rishi who walks in, and his name is Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra walks in and he says, you know, I have a problem in the forest and I want Ram to come and solve it. And Dashrath says, but Ram is very young. I will give you my army. Use the army to solve the problem. And Vishwamitra insists that Ram come with him, because he says, who is going to be king? Who is going to rule? Who has to solve the problems? It is Ram, right? So let him come with me. And he literally drags this young man from the zone of comfort, where his father wants to keep him in a very safe place, to the zone of discomfort, from the palace into the forest. And the first challenge that Ram faces in his life is of a Rakshashi, a demoness, attacking him, called Tataka. And Ram says that, you know, it's a woman, and I've been told that you should not harm a woman. Stri Hatya is a great sin, it's a pap.
That's what he's been taught all along.
He's been taught all along.
Right.
And Vishwamitra says, it doesn't matter whether it is a man or a woman. Look at the situation, look at the context, see what the problem is. And right now, the problem is this lady, and you have to kill her. So he raises his weapon and kills Tataka.
Quite against all his training, which is don't raise, you know, no violence against women.
No violence. And it's, in a way, it's almost, it's a talk, one can look at it as equality, where when you're looking at a situation, don't get bogged down by theoretical rules and conduct. Just look at the situation, find the problem, and take the decision that you have to take. And it's a ruthless one. So Ram has to shoot. The first act he does is he's told by his teacher, shoot Tataka, and he kills Tataka. But the story doesn't end there. Then he goes on a journey, and it's an interesting journey where with Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra takes him to another spot, and at that point he comes across a stone, and he's told the stone is one of Ahalya. And she has had an extramarital affair, and then Vishwamitra looks at Ram and says,
so she's been, turned into a stone because she had an extramarital affair. That's her punishment.
It's a punishment. And he says, liberate her from this punishment. Liberate her, touch her with your feet, and she will break free from this stone, the cursed life that she's leading. Liberate her, uddhar karo uska. So what you have is an extreme, two extreme situation. On one side, you have Tataka, who has to be killed, so it's an act of ruthlessness.
And on the
other side, it's of upliftment, of liberation.
Of compassion as well.
Of compassion, of extreme compassion. So you move from being ruthless to being compassionate. And these are the two extreme decision-making behaviors that a king has to demonstrate. Sometimes he has to be ruthless, and sometimes he has to be compassionate. And a wise king knows what to do when. And this is a shift from the theoretical background that he was in, from Vasishta to Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra, as if you read the scriptures, was once a king. So he knows the practical problems Ram will face when he's to live in society. And in a way, he's imparting knowledge that this is what you're going to do. There will be times when you'll have to be ruthless, and there'll be times you have to be compassionate. And when you know when to be ruthless and when to be compassionate, you will be a great king.
Okay, so to deviate a little bit from the broader theme of education and training and development, how do you know when to be compassionate and when to be ruthless? I mean, does the story narrate why Vishwamitra suggested that in the first case, Ram kill the woman, and in the second case, be compassionate and liberate her from her punishment?
See, there is no, I can't give there's no such kind of a toolkit or a template, you know. We will basically,
I'm just curious to know why.
You know,
why, ruthlessness on one end and compassion on the other?
You see, here at one place, in one side, you're saying that if I don't take that decision, then the forest will be destroyed. The community will be destroyed. So it is violence happening at one side, and the only way to stop it is by being ruthless over it, because there seems to be no other method to handle that. On the other side, it is that if you let it go, then there is no hope for people. That means if someone has made a mistake in their life, it means that you'll never forgive them. Imagine living in a society where there's no forgiveness. So on one side, there is almost brutal punishment. On the other side, there's forgiveness. And so there's always hope being given. But not only hope.
Got
If
it.
there was only hope, then I can get away with everything. So there is a balance of the two. So there is what is called dandaniti, the stick, and the other side is, well, not quite the carrot, but there is
I get what you mean. It's almost the carrot in terms of hope.
Hope.
That there is forgiveness
There
if
is
you do commit
forgiveness.
mistakes,
You-
right?
Because yes, there is punishment, but it's not forever.
Okay. I'm curious, why did Vishwamitra not take these decisions himself and insist that Ram has to do this, himself, as opposed to Vishwamitra, who you pointed out was also a king at one time, could have easily killed Tataka and easily released Ahalya, right?
Yes. You see, but the point, it's it's an interesting point, because you see, Vishwamitra has stopped being king. Now he's moved to the next stage of his life. He's moved to a stage where he wants to go to the next level, which means that all his royal pursuits has to be managed by someone else. So in a way, it's passing on. It's passing on the baton to the next generation.
Okay.
You see, it's the next generation now has to take care of the world. He can't be there all the time. So it's about the older generation saying that, okay, we have done what we had to do. We learned, we made mistakes, we have figured out things. Now we're passing it on to the next generation. The next generation will now be capable. So one could call it's a capability building exercise. So that then Vishwamitra can move on.
So for every Ram, you have to have a Vishwamitra.
Vishwamitra, absolutely.
Otherwise, Ram would not have existed.
Absolutely.